As we've seen many times on this show, retirement means different things to different people. For some, it's a time to kick back and relax after a lifetime of working. Others find rewards in travel or hobbies. But some people find time in their retirement to make a difference in the lives of others. Such is the case with Bob Sauter. It's supper time on a Tuesday night, and Bob Sauter is cooking meatloaf. He does this almost every night, not for his family or his friends. He's feeding a group of men just released from prison, living in a halfway house that he owns. It's not exactly the way he envisioned his retirement years.
10 years ago, if somebody would have walked up to me at the Rotary Club and said, "Bob, you're going to be in Tennessee, you're going to be going into penitentiaries and speaking to men about the Lord's message," I probably would have fallen off a bar stool.
Bob Sauter calls himself a road warrior, having spent most of his career as a traveling salesman for a multinational corporation. He and his family have lived in 4 states before coming to Memphis to retire near his grandkids.
10 years ago, as I said, I was living a lifestyle outside of any spiritual influence. I just looked at my life to that point in time and said, well, what have you done that's made a difference? And honestly, while I've lived a life as most men have, married, had some children, worked in my community, was in the Rotary Club, as I mentioned, been in business, I really had no legacy.
At the busy corner of Summer and Highland, almost hidden beside a gas station, you'll find Bob Sauter's legacy. This is Forgiveness House, a halfway house for men paroled from prison.
We sacrificed by taking some money initially from my retirement in order to come up with the equity position to buy this building. And we found this building mid-2006. It took us the balance of that year to renovate it and get it to the point where we could be approved by the Department of Probation and Parole, which we are. We're a parole board approved house with the state of Tennessee. Opened in early 2007, and we're about to approach our 3rd anniversary of helping guys coming out of prison.
Forgiveness House can accommodate 9 parolees plus 1 house manager. The parole board mandates a minimum 90-day residency, but the average stay at Forgiveness House is double that. It's a highly structured environment, with the goal of helping these men return to a world that may have changed dramatically since their incarceration.
I've got a man that went into prison when Ronald Reagan was president his first year. So our society has changed so dramatically that it's an amazing thing to watch a man like that come out, and I'll have to lean on some supernatural help there, but to find a place, find a job, for example, that is ideally suited for him, one that he can understand and operate at without knowing how to use a computer or debit cards or cell phones or all the new technology that obviously that you and I are very familiar with.
Bob gets about 50 letters a month from inmates applying for residency. He interviews the men personally, and one of his chief selection criteria is the man's spirituality.
The statistics state that men who have gone through and had a spiritual renewal in prison, regardless of what the spiritual renewal is, they have a 50% better chance of making it once they are released. It has to come within the man. It has to be here. We could have the greatest program in the world. It could be free. It could be this. It could be everything that a program could be. But if the man doesn't have it in his heart to make it today, he's not going to make it. So that's the kind of questions I ask when I get to interview them in the prisons. Are you tired of the foolishness? Are you ready to to grow up, man up here, and come out here and do what's necessary to make it out here, because it all boils down to you.
Bob knows he's fighting a battle against overwhelming numbers. Each year, about 3,000 men are paroled from West Tennessee prisons. Forgiveness House is one of just a handful of faith-based halfway houses to serve an ever-growing population of parolees. But Bob measures success by the small miracles that occur every day.
Here's a building that sat vacant for 5 years that now has had probably 50 men come through it since we've been open. Now, not all of them are success stories, and we've had a few disappointments, to be sure, but the majority of those men are still out in the community, and the majority of those men are still doing the right thing. They haven't gone back to the old ways. So even though they haven't hit the big job or maybe married or have gotten a solid family structure yet around them, these are the success stories. These are the men that really I can look to and say, hey, you know, here's what we've been able to do.
Bob Sauter's commitment to making a difference in the lives of these men continues. He's just opened a second house on Macon Road with room for 7 men. Men looking for a second chance, or maybe their last chance. Men looking for forgiveness.
The attitude has to change. These men need to be forgiven. Christ has forgiven them. They've been forgiven on a spiritual level. It's society that carries the grudge. Again, the Bible clearly states in 2 places that in order to be forgiven, we must forgive. And I don't know which comes first, the chicken or the egg, but forgiveness must happen either before or after. And while these men cannot probably face, many of them, face their victims, again, from a spiritual point of view, the Lord will equalize that situation. And they will be able to go back out into the community and help somebody else that's been damaged. And in that restoration will be helpful not only to that person, but also to our guys that are out there trying to make a difference in somebody else's life.